Hi friends. Wanted to do today's video. It's a day late. It's the 31st. Um, um, yeah. So forgive me for that. But today's video, I wanted to make sure that I had some things. I wanted to be more structured with my videos. Again, everything I'm trying to do with these is about intention. It's about being present and holding space, which is why I called it that. Named the series Holding Space, because I'm not trying to hold space for everyone, just because, like, we all need a safe space to come and reflect on things, maybe to have a sound ear to listen to, or to be heard. Get down, please. Down. Thank you. Down. Thank you. So holding space means that I'm available, giving maybe some insight that I've come across, and giving you all an opportunity to reflect maybe on some insights that you've come across. Maybe something I say sparks some epiphanies of your own. So that's what this is all about. Just taking a moment to be in that space. So that's what this is all about. But again, I want it to be intentional. I don't want it to be a distraction, as I said before, but I do want it to be intentional. And part of my intention, I said before, was to keep record of my progress in my process and in my journey, but also to give insight as I make my journey, as I gain insights for myself, to share that. So I don't know if I shared this before, but one of my goals, career goals, is to become a certified wellness coach. It is something that I have a natural gift for. I don't have the credentials, I don't have all of the information, but I do have a natural inclination and gift for counseling and coaching and encouragement. So I've decided to use that to sustain me. It's much more difficult to find a career that'll pay the bills when you don't want to go to work, when you feel like you're feeding someone else. But in doing this, it is something that I naturally do. It does not feel like work. And I enjoy it. It really does bring me joy to sit and counsel with someone. And mostly counseling isn't about telling someone else what they need to do. It's about helping them come to their own realizations of what they can do for themselves, what they are doing for themselves already, and helping them celebrate that, and helping them understand the steps they can take to improve whatever they feel they need to improve for themselves. That's something I already naturally do. So I want whatever I do to feed myself, to not feel like work. I want it to feel joyful, and that is something that brings me joy. So that is something that I'm working toward. In doing that, and part of my credentials, I would like to be more structured. That is one of the goals I have for myself. So in developing a structure, I'm developing some protocols. Now, as we get more and more into it, the protocols become more in depth, and as you grow, you require more. You require more to grow, just like with exercise. If you've ever started working out, you start out working out for a week and you're thinking, oh man, this is impossible, this is difficult, I can't do this. And then the next time you go in, it's a little bit easier. Maybe you're a little bit sore, but it's a little bit easier. Then after a while, it becomes, oh, this is nothing. Like, what you thought a week ago was difficult is now nothing. So to continue to grow, if you choose to, or to maintain, you do have to give your body a little bit of stress. You have to challenge yourself a little bit. It's same thing with the mind, same thing with the spirit. That is how we grow. We are creatures of adaptation. And the only way for us to adapt is to be challenged. Now, in our society, we are blessed to be in a society that has very few challenges. Many of us actually have very few challenges. I'm not negating or demeaning anyone else's challenges. I know that I am blessed. I'm very, very fortunate, as many of us in this country are. But there are a lot of people struggling, so I don't demean that or put that down. Uh, I'm speaking to the circumstances that are in our control, which are our emotional, our personal, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. That is what I'm tending to. Um, the other things that is, you're, again, if it's part of your personal growth, which is mine, so volunteering is a part of my personal growth, um, because it's part of giving back. It's part of giving back the blessing. It's not about, oh, these people are less fortunate. No, it's not about that. It's about sharing the blessing. If I have something that someone else needs, then it's my responsibility to share what I can. So anyhow, that's step off the soapbox and get back to my protocol. So the structure of my protocol that I'm trying to develop is a wellness protocol, and it's just an all around, at first, an introduction for myself and for whoever I will be serving or helping, assisting my clients. So putting this together to hopefully get some feedback, again, for an introduction for myself and what I plan to do, but get some feedback as I continue to grow. It, I'd like some constructive criticism to understand better how to assist. So let's get to it. My wellness protocol has just 5 things for the first week. So I don't know how many weeks because we're continually growing. But when we start in our first week, again, this is me beginning my protocols. This is just the beginning for me. So maybe I'll have an annual protocol. I'll develop an annual protocol, a monthly protocol. But for now, we'll start with 1 week, because many of us are just starting from the beginning. Some of us have been on this journey for a while. But my intention here is to start from the basics. And there are 5 things that are just basic that will make a significant difference if you have not already started doing them, and if you are doing them, to bring back mindfulness to the basics, because no matter how far along you are in your journey, we do tend to lose sight of our foundations. And these 5 things will help us develop an understanding of our foundations and bring us back to them when we feel a little lost. So the first thing in my protocol, and all of them are very important, but this is, I feel, the most important, because it sets the pace for everything else. And this is when you first wake up in the morning or in the evening, whatever your schedule is. But when you first wake up from your long sleep, the first 10 minutes before you do anything else, before you look at your phone, before you start running through your mind of all the things you need to do for the day, before you even open your eyes, because I know for me, sometimes I wake up and my eyes are still closed and my mind is already running. So I've developed a practice of the first 10 minutes, as soon as I wake up, doing a mindfulness activity, and stretching. Now, that mindfulness activity could be anything from meditation to quiet gratitude and contemplation to prayer. But the point is to slowly move from rest to activity, to slowly move and transition. Oftentimes we wake up with that alarm goes off, we jump up. Some of us hit the snooze a couple of times, but as soon as that alarm goes off, we know we have to get to action. And it's disorienting, because your body is just like, okay, we were here and now we're here. It doesn't matter if you jump right up, but your mind has already decided we're going from here to here, and it's a jolt. This is a moment to be present with yourself, to be aware that now I am conscious and I'm aware and I'm awake and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that I have another day to experience what I'm going to experience. I am grateful that I have another day to control and guide myself through everything that comes to me and everything that comes at me. These are the mindset. This is the mindset we want to develop and set for the day. So that 10 minute of mindfulness and stretching is important too, but I'm focused on the mindfulness right now. That 10 minute of mindfulness is essential because it does set the pace. I have my notes. It does set the pace for your emotional regulation. If you've already started your day with, I got to do this and I got to do this, and that's going to be your whole day. But if you start your day with, I'm here, I'm in control of me, I am present, it's that much easier to come back to that center in the course of the day when you've already encountered something that may be frustrating or dysregulating. If you've already started your day with regulation, it's that much easier to come back to it. So that's why that first 10 minutes of taking that slow transition and that mindfulness activity is important. And I say the stretching as well, because you're waking up, your body has been stagnant, has been in a state of rest. So now we're waking up our body, we're moving, we're saying, hey, it's time to get ready, it's time to get moving. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's enjoy the feeling of knowing that we can move. And for those of us, those are my friends who have limited movement and limited motion, you can do what you can. If you don't have the same movement in your hands, do some mindful contraction. So you may not be able to do this, but if you can do this, you can do this. If you can't do a closed fist, you can at least as much as you can, and even if there is no movement, you can bring awareness to each body part, so your mind body connection is still there. So you can say, okay, fingers, I know where my fingers are. Now, fingers, I'm aware of my fingers, I'm aware of my knuckles, I'm aware of my wrist, I'm aware of the muscles and the tendons that are there, I'm aware of the blood moving through my veins, I'm aware of the neural connections. Some of them may be disconnected, but it's there because it's still operating and those cells are still alive. If those cells are still alive, there's still some connection. So let's be mindful of that. So when I say stretching, yes, it's movement, but it's also body awareness. So those are the benefits of that 10 minutes of mindfulness and stretching. That slow transition from rest to activity, that emotional regulation, that's setting that base, and also that body awareness. So the next one is to plan and track your meals. If you don't plan your meals for the week, and I don't mean having a strict meal plan or anything like that, having an idea of what you want to eat. Maybe not for the week, but for the day. You can look in the refrigerator, you go to your refrigerator and you say, I have this, what I'm going to eat for breakfast, what I'm going to eat for lunch, what I'm going to eat for dinner. These are the snacks I have available to me. So you can start to think about those things and be mindful and aware. Hey, this is what I have to, and you have something to look forward to. Ooh, I have that meatloaf in there. I'm going to make myself a meatloaf sandwich for lunch. You get excited about it. You have something to look forward to. And I try not to encourage food-based rewards or excitement too much, but it is a part of life. Eating is a part of life. We have to eat to sustain ourselves. So our grand designer has designed us and created us to enjoy the things that are good for us. However, because we live in a society of abundance, we have become overindulgent. And this is going back again to the basics. So if you're starting planning your meals and what you're going to eat, you become much more aware of what you are putting into your body. And I'm not saying at this point for the first week, it's not about judgment. It's about setting a baseline. So again, if this is just the beginning, we're setting a baseline. We're setting, hey, this is where I'm at. And we're honoring and respecting it. Maybe, and you're here because you want to grow. So if there's some changes you want to make, okay, well, we have to look and see where we are so that we can make adjustments. But we can't make adjustments just willy-nilly, not even knowing where we are. So that's what this is about. So when I say tracking, I don't mean you need to sit here and this is this many calories and this is this many calories. At this point, the first week, it's about awareness. It's about mindfulness. Again, we're going to mindfulness and we're becoming aware. The whole point, again, is to come back to center, to ground ourselves, to be aware of ourselves. Everything else, again, if it's out of our control, it's none of our business. But coming back to basics and foundation, this is what we control. And so planning and tracking your meals, it makes that it brings that intake awareness. Your intake of your makes you more aware of your nutritional and caloric intake. So am I not getting enough calories? Am I getting too many calories? The food I'm taking in, is it nutritious enough to sustain me? Does it have the minerals, the trace minerals that I need? Does it have the vitamins that I need? Does it hit my macros that I need to sustain the lifestyle that I have or want and the body that I have or want? That's what that's about. It's also, once you start to track and become aware of those nutritional needs being met or unmet, you start to become more aware and aware of your body and your body's cues. So the days that you look back and you say, oh man, I didn't hit those calories, that's why I felt so sluggish that day. Or, oh, my protein was a little low, that's why my muscles feel a little tight and a little weak. Or my mental fog, I'm not as clear, I'm not as, I can't think, I can't put my things together, I can't put my thoughts together. Maybe I need a little bit more carbs, maybe I need a little bit more fat, maybe my blood sugar was too low, something like that. It helps you understand your body's cues. A lot of times when we're in a high stress mode, we get very disconnected and dissociated from our body. This helps bring that back to our body's cues. A lot of us don't feel hungry, and they think that that's a good thing. That is not a good thing. We need to know when we're hungry. A lot of times, by the time I feel hunger, it's my blood sugar's dropped. And and so it's multiple cues going on at that point. But so for many of us, we need to get back to that basic of understanding our body's cues, and not just for hunger, but for, hey, I'm feeling a little sore, I'm feeling a little weak, maybe I need to add a little bit more protein, maybe I need a little bit more potassium, maybe I need a little bit more magnesium, some calcium. Just looking at what you're eating helps you become more mindful of that. And it also, once you decide to make some changes, and you're aware of where those changes need to be made, it's recorded. And that's what I mean by tracking. Write down what you're eating, because if you see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, it helps you with the mindset of being a little bit more compliant with those changes. So you could say, hey, this day I had I had 2 donuts, I had 2 donuts and I was carb rich this day. And so I say donuts as an example because that's where I'm at this week. But so I had this donut and it was great. It was delicious. At the moment, it was worth it. But later, I felt kind of sluggish. I felt kind of, I didn't feel all there. And I know that when I eat donuts now, that that could be a consequence. So later on, when I am being more intentional and more aggressive with my nutrition and my caloric intake, when I am on a more strict diet plan, I'm going to be a little bit more compliant. I'm not going to look at that donut with so much longing because I have a record of knowing that it's not just, oh, it's not good for me because of what, it really isn't. Like, my body does not like it. My mouth does, but my body does not like it. So there's a record of that. And so I'm going to be mindful of it, and I'm likely going to be a little bit more compliant. Likely. And anyway, that's the goal, but that's the intention. So whether we follow through with it or not, okay, but at least the intention's there and we follow through with our intention. Now the goal is a whole different thing. But right now we're working on mindfulness and intention. So our next one, and this is where a lot of us have difficulty, I myself as well, is that 30 minutes of exercise. And I know. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, blah, 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 because that's what my inner voice does too. Every time I say, okay, let's go work out. Fine, let's go. I'm working on it too. If you're already there, bravo. Good. Like, bless you. But I'm working on it too. But that 30 minutes of exercise is essential. Our bodies need movement. Our grand designer has designed us to move. And if we want to keep moving, if we want to be able to continue to move, we have to keep using it. We have to do it. We have to do what we can to better our quality of life, and that exercise is essential. And it's just 30 minutes. And I know some of us say, oh, I don't have time, I have to do this and I have to do that, blah, 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 blah. And then when do I have time for me? That is your time for me. That is your time. It's 30 minutes. So even sitting here watching this video, you've sat here and watched this video for 20 minutes. Don't stop watching my videos. But 30 minutes is that. It's just that. You can sit there and scroll on your phone for 30 minutes and not even think about it. It's again, going back to intention and mindfulness. I need to eat some carbs. It's going back to intention and mindfulness. Being mindful with your time. Giving yourself that time to take care of yourself. So that 30 minutes of exercise, it does not have to be, I have to be in the gym and I have to be pumping weights. It could be a walk around the neighborhood. And because it's a moment of quiet reflection, but also of movement. And it is your you time. You can go on that 30-minute walk with your family. You can go on, and that's quality time with your family. When I'm going to spend time with my kids, there you go. But it's 30 minutes of intentional exercise. It can't be, oh, well, I was walking around the mall and that was like an hour, so that's my 30 minutes. No, intention is where we're going. We're moving with intention and mindfulness. So yeah, that's great that you got in those steps at the mall, but did you take a moment to intentionally, did you take those 30 minutes to intentionally get your activity in? It could be yoga. It could be an extra 30 minutes of stretching. It could be sitting at the park and sitting on a picnic blanket and doing some dynamic and some static stretching, some movement. But getting your that movement is essential because we're strengthening, lengthening, moving, and squeezing our muscles. We're moving our lymphatics. That lymphatic system, if you don't know, is our body system, is our waste removal system. So a lot of us are, or well, yeah, a lot of us, if you're alive, we have our waste system. So we have our urinary system, we have our fecal system, the fecal waste system, the urinary system. We're aware of those. So our digestion, our food moves through, comes out, waste. Our fluids come out in urine. But we also have our lymphatics, and our lymphatics is our internal tissue, how it gets rid of the waste. So we produce waste on a cellular level. Where does it go? A lot of people think, okay, yes, it goes into the blood, but does the blood just keep circulating our waste? No, it gets rid of it through the lymphatic system. Our lymphatics does not have a pump like our circulatory system. Or the arterial system. Our circulatory system has the arterial system that has a pump, but the venous route does not have pumps. It has valves. Anyhow, our lymphatics has nodes. So it has the tubes, and then it has a node where it collects the waste. Well, that's why sometimes you're like, oh, when you get sick and the doctors check here, they're checking your the lymph nodes to see if they're swollen, if your lymphatic system is removing the waste as it should. but exercise helps with that. The muscles, it's contracting and moving, and it's squeezing those tubes in your lymphatics and moving it out. Sometimes when you do dynamic and jumping movement, that also helps move your waste, the lymphatics, and gets that waste out. So it comes through the lymphatic system, moves out through, fluid. So that comes out in sweat, comes out in mucus, and it goes into our energy. It's convoluted, but it helps move the lymphatics. So exercise does that too. So you're not only strengthening muscle, bone, and joint, and your joints, you're helping your body remove that excess waste. There's no such thing as excess waste. Waste is waste. So you're helping your body remove that waste. And in doing that and removing the waste, it helps your immune system. It boosts your immune system. The immune system starts defending itself against anything that is harmful to it. And if you accumulate too much waste, so there is excess waste, there we go. If you accumulate too much waste, the immune system starts to activate and try to get rid of it. That's when we feel sick, when we feel sluggish, when we start getting inflamed. That's when all of those symptoms come into play. So exercise helps not only alleviate some of those symptoms, but it helps prevent it. A lot of us too, when we're inactive, our systems were meant, and and our ancestors in our DNA have they had much rougher lives than we did, most of them. So our DNA and our creator has designed us to adapt to stress. And we have developed cortisol and adrenaline responses to stressors to help put us into action. Well, now we live a life of luxury. Most of us live lives of luxury. And as I'm moving my necklace around, luxury, so luxurious. Let's put that away because, I'm not trying to get robbed. Anyway. Because we live a life of luxury, and the stresses that we face are not the same stresses. Yes, they are valid, but it's not on the same level. Our bodies have not quite evolved to adjust to that, to not need as much cortisol and adrenaline. So we have an overflow, which can lead to chronic conditions such as, for me, for fibromyalgia. Other chronic conditions develop as well from an overflow of adrenaline and cortisol. Exercise helps put that to use. So we're putting intentional stress on the body to help get rid of that excess cortisol and adrenaline. It also releases those happy hormones, the endorphins. So, a lot of times after I exercise, and this is not just me, this is what happens. After you exercise, you may feel beat down, you may feel sweaty and gross, but you just feel euphoric afterwards. And that, that exercise high, that endorphin high, it's a real thing, and it's beautiful and glorious. And it's one of the healthiest highs you can get. So that's the benefit of that 30 minutes of intentional exercise. We're moving on to step 4. The number 4 is, I think, is one of the hardest things for me to do. I know exercise, I grumble and complain, but we tend to dismiss step 4, which is reflecting on our day, our daily reflection. And in this, with this protocol, I would like for you not only to reflect, but record your day. So record the things you did in the day, not everything. Like at 10:10, not 10:10, 10:10, I went to the market. At 12:30, I sat on the couch. I'm not talking about that. Just reflect on your day. What kind of things come to mind when you think about your day? What kind of feelings did you have to combat and set regulation for yourself again? What kind of encounters did you have, and how did you navigate those encounters, good and bad? How did those things make you feel, and how did your response to those things make you feel? when you were planning your meals and what you ate and all of that. When you ate your meal, how did you feel? So just reflecting on those things. Again, we're coming back to intention and mindfulness, because our whole point is to become aware, to ground ourselves and center ourselves. So the benefit of that with that is the benefit of reflecting and recording your day is you become more aware of your behavioral patterns and your emotions. You become more aware of it, good and bad. Sometimes we have behavioral patterns that we're not aware of because we're living in that moment. But when we take that time to reflect on our day and when we reflect on some of the encounters we had, you say, you know what, maybe that reaction to that circumstance was a little aggressive. Why did I behave that way? And what kind of feelings came up that led to that behavior? And we can reflect on that. And that's part of growth. That's not to beat us down, but it's part of growth. Again, another part of growth is developing trust in ourselves. So when we're reflecting on our day, okay, this happened and this interaction happened, and maybe you didn't behave badly. Maybe you behaved in a way that you're proud of. So reflect on that as well. This happened and we're dissecting, okay, I behaved this way and I had these feelings, but I was able to regulate and center my feelings. I was able to center myself and regulate my feelings, and that in turn was allowed me to adjust my behavior to an appropriate response for the situation, regardless of what was happening. So I'm proud of that. You can reflect on that and you can say, you know what, I'm really happy for myself for taking care of myself that way. And you develop a deeper trust for yourself to take care of yourself. It also, if you're doing this at the end of the day, it also gives you an emotional release of the day. So you're not as attached. So you don't go to bed with thinking about, well, they did this and they said this, and then you don't sit and ruminate on those things, because the reality is those things are in the past. It may be in the recent past, but it is in the past. That is not currently happening anymore. So we can release our emotional attachment to those situations in that reflection. That gives us that moment to release. This is no longer a part of my system. It is on the paper. It is out in the ether. It is no longer a part of me. So those are the benefits of reflecting and recording your day. Also, and I say record because, you know, some of us are past recording. I like to record because sometimes, again, when we get lost, because this work is consistent, it's constant. Not consistent, consistent, you know, we want to be consistent, but it's constant. We have to keep working because we are continually growing. As I said in my other videos, a tree doesn't stop growing. It continues reaching and reaching and reaching. So it's not just, oh, when are we going to reach the end? No, it's, oh, I have more to learn, and we're excited about it. So that's the point of that. When I get lost, if I lose my center, I have the evidence of, okay, you know what, I'm moving back into some behavior patterns that I felt were unhealthy for me. So this is how I got out of it. This is how I remedied those patterns. You can go back to, if you're feeling if you're in a state of depression, and your depression, that depressed mind is telling you, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I'm not worthy of anything, I don't do anything, and that guilt and that depression starts to set in, you have evidence of all the ways you've taken care of yourself, of all the good things that you are. You have evidence of that written down. So it helps combat those thoughts as well. That's why I like to journal. I don't do it as often. I am negligent with it, but that is one of the benefits of journaling. I say reflect and record because journaling seems to be a trigger for a lot of people, but that's all journaling is reflecting and recording. How you choose to reflect and record is up to you. You can write, you can draw, you can do a timestamp. If that, I know I made fun of it because that's the way my brain works. or that's not the way my brain works. It is, and I'm sorry, I apologize for that, because if that's the way your brain works, I don't want to dismiss anything that works for you. That is a me thing. It is not a reflection. Anytime, and I want to preface that too, anytime I say something that may seem dismissive or demeaning, please understand that it is a me thing. Understand that I am talking into a camera and I'm talking to myself. So if anything I say triggers or applies to you, recognize that anything I say is a me thing. And if it hurts your feelings, I apologize. That is never my intention. But also reflect and understand that if it's something that triggers you, reflect on that, because maybe that's some work you need to do as well. I will work on me and you will work on you, and we'll be great together. Okay? So that to say, if you do have to do the timestamps, do that. But however it works for you for recording, just make it mindful and make it intentional, and that way you have a release. So all the benefits I discussed before, all of that is important in that step of recording and reflecting, journaling. So the final step, and that fifth one is at the end of the day before you go to bed, that 10 minutes of mindfulness and stretching again. So we start our day with it, but we also end our day with it. Again, it's about transition. So now we're giving our systems the chance to transition from activity, mental activity, physical activity, to rest. Anything abrupt is an offense to our system. We are designed to respond to those, but if it's within our control to give ourselves safety and rest, then that's what we can do for ourselves. That's what we should do for ourselves. So this is an opportunity for that, to take us from action to rest. It helps release the tension of the day. So I know for me, one of my holding patterns is this. It's not as evident because, this is evident, but those muscles are activated. Even when I brought my shoulders down, those muscles are always ready for action because of the way my anxiety is, the way some of the pain I have in my body, I compensate in a certain way. So when you're doing that stretching at the end of the day, it helps release that tension. So we have our moment to get our bodies saying, okay, we're done with action for the day. We're intentionally done with action for the day. So sometimes you have an emergency and you have to jump up. That's not what this is. This is, okay, I'm going to bed and we're resting and we're doing our part to make sure our body feels safe to rest. And going back to that with that safety, it also triggers our mind and our emotions to say, okay, this is a time of quiet reflection. Or not quiet reflection. This is a time of transition to rest. So we are safe to rest. We are animals, like we do, we are in our bodies. We are animals, and animals need safety to rest. You think about how if you have pets, your cats and your dogs or whatever, they find a cozy spot, they find a cozy place, they find a safe space to rest. We need that as well. It's not just our bed or whatever. We need that not just with our bodies, but with our minds as well. Our minds need to feel safe enough to shut down and process everything in our sleep. I'll do another video on the importance of sleep, of restful sleep. But right now, we're talking about our daily mindfulness, our 5 daily mindfulness steps, or maybe not steps, but intentions. There we go. Our 5 intentions for the day. So let's recap. We got our 10-minute mindfulness for waking up. As soon as we wake up, that 10-minute mindfulness and stretching. We have our planning and tracking our meals for the day. We have our 30 minutes of intentional exercise. We have reflection and recording the day. And we have our 10-minute of mindfulness and stretching to end the day. I hope this was informative for you. It really did help me understand a little bit about where I want to go and how I want to communicate these these basics and essentials. So, so yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for sitting with me. I encourage you to go out and just do what you can with these 5 steps. And if you do go along and do these five intentions, I keep calling them steps. If you do these 5 intentions for a week, I say 7 days because it helps us develop the habit. And then the next week we continue with these, but we go in a little bit more in depth. So, so for the first 7 days, if you do follow through with it, leave me a note in the comments. Like, leave me a comment and let me know how it worked out for you. I'd love to know how it worked out. If you felt the difference for yourself and what kind of changes. I know it will make a change. I know it will make a difference. But what kind of insights and differences it made for you? I'd love to be aware of that. Okay? Thank you, friends. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. All right.